Hey Coleman, great to be here with you. Can everyone hear me okay? Get a thumbs up. Awesome, fantastic. Well, it's for me, it's the second time being back here in the second year for Atlantic Convergence, and what a great show. Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Vinay Nagpal. I'm the CEO of the IG Group. We do data center, digital infrastructure, strategic business consulting work. I'm joined by Coleman Deegan. Coleman is one of the many CEOs, part of a much bigger group that's called Digital Bridge. And Coleman is representing his firm Zayo, but also Zayo Europe, and also talking about the importance of convergence, the importance of digital infrastructure as it means to our industry, from an overall perspective. And I want to have Coleman give us a quick introduction about himself, about his background, and Coleman, over to you.
Vinay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, Lisbon. I'm new to the conference, and big credit to everybody. It's really, really nice, intimate, and beautiful setting. My background, I'm Irish, and I'm very glad to compliment the organizers because the weather yesterday reminded me of home. It rained so much. It actually was it was a throwback to my youth. So I was very proud of that. Very happy to be here. I would my background. I've spent all my life in telecoms. You could say a telecoms dinosaur. I was at Vodafone, a company called Vodafone. They're probably powering your mobile phones here today. One of the best networks actually at Vodafone, and this is no plug, was the Portuguese network. Really well-run business, Vodafone Portugal. But I was at Vodafone Group, finished up in Spain in 2023, Vodafone Spain. And then I joined Zayo in 24, so about 18 months ago. And we're a B2B fiber operator across the FLAP region. Metro player, we connect almost 3 million fiber kilometers of fiber. How they measure that stuff, I don't know, but that's what we have. Connected to 600 DCs, and effectively a DC to DC player. So the question is why is Lisbon and why is this event interesting? Because this is a new ecosystem in the ever burgeoning growth of AI, the internet, and in the near future, we will extend our footprint into Iberia as well, we hope. So
Yeah.
it's a big market.
Yeah, I think if you look across the Iberian Peninsula, there's definitely a lot of new development happening. And the way I look at it, Coleman, whether it's hyperscalers, whether it's data center operators, the build out from a data center perspective is happening very aggressively. At the same time, you obviously need adequate, scalable, secure, robust connectivity and bandwidth available, right? That's where dark fiber comes in. That's where subsea cables comes in. And for hyperscalers who are doing more and more of kind of on their own build outs, both on the data center side and also on the subsea side, and they're controlling more of their kind of end-to-end digital value chain. Why do you think that integrated model is becoming so important for our industry when we take a look across the board?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the pace at which development is happening now, it's staggering. Even, yesterday we had our friends from Atlas Edge. They've built the first data center, already plans to make the second one, going to make a campus in Lisbon. I mean, this is happening, or there's use cases that you read the press every day. So to make all that happen to scale, you have to have a lot of standardization, and you have to have and that's where the tech world, that's what we learned. I mean, from, build it once, deploy it many times. And that, otherwise it's impossible to reach that speed of rollout or development. So having standardization is a must if you want to scale fast. Second thing I would say is control of the ecosystem. Again, this is really, really important if we have a lot of threats and threat actors out there now. So unless you have control of your ecosystem end to end, it creates vulnerabilities, and we're becoming so interdependent on each other there's a need for more and more resiliency, or however you put it in. I mean, we've seen in the last few weeks alone some, vulnerabilities in large up systems. So to have that scalability and then to have control of the ecosystem, really, that's what's driving this need for end-to-end integration.
Yeah, no, that's very well said, because at the end of the day, you can build the infrastructure, you can have the integration done as well, but that's, scalability part and the security aspects are extremely important. Speaking of being important, if you look across the global digital infrastructure ecosystem, how healthy do you think that ecosystem is, and which parts of the value chain are performing the best?
It's well, I mean, I think we're at probably an unprecedented. You and I are old enough. I remember the dot-com bust of 25 years ago, or the dot-com bubble, or whatever we want to call it. I mean, the amount of investment, even to that, nowadays is on a different level again, and the quality and quantity of infrastructure being built is never been seen before, and that has no signs of abating or slowing down. So it's really, I think, certain areas clearly are at the forefront. If you talk about, I don't know, the hyperscale AI-led projects, or some of the subsea developments. I mean, it's to connect places and build resiliency, which was never there before. So I think the overall picture is quite strong, but it was striking. Your last speaker had, where are the bottlenecks, and one of them is fiber. And I would say the return dynamics on fiber are different. Even within fiber, whether you do long haul fiber or metro fiber, so you need to, so the whole ecosystem needs to be able to deliver return on capital, because this requires enormous sums of capital, and to think about things differently, how we do business differently, partnerships, working with each other to collaborate on that, try and make our life easier around regulation and things like that as well. So I would think the overall digital infrastructure space is going through massive transformation. There are other areas that are clearly outshining the other at the moment, but everything for it all to happen, the rising tide has to lift all the ships.
Yep, that's absolutely right. You mentioned about the bottlenecks, and you mentioned fiber, right? So I've been in Northern Virginia for the last 26 years. We were having this conversation last night, and with the amount of data centers that have come up and continue to be built, the data center construction has been nonstop for 26 years, and to go with that hand in hand is splice trucks. You need splicing of fiber optic cables, and that robustness of infrastructure is so important from a scalability perspective, and that's just been continuing, at least what I've witnessed, nonstop for 26 years now. Let's kind of move forward. Our last speaker, you mentioned, you referred to him. Zaid and I have been friends for a long time, from his early days at Microsoft and then LinkedIn, and now with his new firm focused on AI. And of course, AI is a new paradigm, right, in terms of what it presents, in terms of if you look at it holistically and various different nuances associated with it. And as we look at it as an AI era, so what is that change that you see that has been brought together by this AI era, and where do you see the industry focusing its efforts to support that change, to really future-proof in an AI world? Because we know what we know today in terms of the applications, in terms of the use cases, right? And as you know, and I know, that's evolving on such a rapid pace as well. As fast as the technology is evolving from an AI perspective, the use cases are evolving as fast as well, right? So what do you think in terms of what that future looks like, and how do you future-proof?
Yeah, well, I will come at it probably, I mean, you'll have speakers here who will be better able to tell you about what the future, or what applications will come. I'll come at it from an infrastructure perspective. And what we're seeing now, I think in the next couple of years, is truly once in a generation shift. So we're seeing infrastructure builds in metros, or we call them now Metro Pluses, particularly around the flap, that will sustain whatever is going to come for the next 20, 25 years. So similar to what happened probably at the turn of the century, this is the moment we're into that. And the quality, quantity, depth of the infrastructure and development is quite generational, I would say. So that makes it very exciting to be part of that. Now, there's one thing building it, there's another thing making money and making return on capital. You mentioned our shareholders, they're quite focused on return on capital, which is good because you need that to fuel the way. So I think what we're going to see is new operating models, new partnership models. That's why this conference is a great one, because you can meet people how we do things. In the past, we're infrastructure based, but more and more we'll partner with people who are providing services or providing subsea traffic all over the world. So I think we're going to see different approaches going forward. We're going to see, because it's going so fast, the demand on capital is so great, we're going to have to be more and more innovative to build this generational infrastructure, and how we partner with companies and how we partner with operators or enterprises around the world to make that happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think time will tell in terms of, when we look at the evolution of technology. I think we were discussing earlier just this morning, NVIDIA made a big announcement about $1 billion investment in Nokia. And we are constantly seeing these new age or neo cloud providers as well, right? Whether it's companies like CoreWeave, Cirruscale, Vulture, and Lambda Labs, in terms of how aggressively they are growing, all to service the AI focused applications and workloads. It's still a cloud-based architecture, but it's purely AI-based.
And in places that, even 5 years ago, you would never have dreamed you would have massive AI factories. So in very rural parts, already in the UK, where our company is based, we see, but they will come in Europe as well with these gigafactory approaches. So, I mean, it does make a big, we talk about challenges. One of the points we, as an industry, we have to stay on the good side of the narrative. This is good for, what we're doing will generate GDP, will generate wealth. We need to stay on the right side of the public policy debate. I mean, I've seen things even on the BBC, the bastion of independent journalism, purporting things about what data centers are doing and what damage they're doing. So there is a tendency for some fake news out there. So we got to get that narrative, work closely with policymakers. I think the data center community does that very well, but enable this to happen. This is critical. This will be critical national infrastructure. How do we make it easier to do things? Not waiting, 3 years for permits or 3 years to build when it takes 1 year in the States. So the European framework, I think we have a lot to do, and we can give back to society. I was with somebody a few weeks ago. They're donating their hot air into the gas network in Amsterdam to working with the municipality, the local government, and that's a great example of giving the resource you're making, giving it back, setting carbon neutral agenda, achieving that. More and more of these things we need to do, I think, to show our value to society, and it's not just we're building AI applications and stuff for whatever to make money. So that's going to be I think, a hot topic as we evolve the AI story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to become even much more relevant and more important for companies. I mean, it's already giving back and community service, and if efforts related to the community are so important to companies. We were talking earlier about neo cloud providers and GPU-based cloud innovation, right? We look at any kind of innovation, right, when it comes to a technology-related life cycle. You mentioned AI being, once in a generation, what we are witnessing. I look at it as once in a lifetime, more or less. Like in terms of, this is like, unfathomed in terms of what's happening around us, right? So when we look at these innovations or collaboration, where will be the biggest leaps that you see looking ahead in innovation or collaboration needed to happen to keep up with the pace of digital transformation? And that digital transformation obviously is happening at the enterprise, right? From an enterprise perspective, as they're moving more and more workloads to the cloud, the enterprises are moving more towards digitization of their own application and their own systems, right? Where do you see the biggest leaps happening in that front?
Well, I think again back to our own, sector. I mean, the capital required to develop all this is enormous. I mean, it's beyond probably what any one company can do. So the demand will force companies to collaborate, even at the operator level. So do we have partnerships, co-build, co-sell, how we efficiently use resources, whether assets and networks. So that, I think, is a necessity if you want to achieve the infrastructure, the underlay that will drive this AI growth. So we're a big believer in that. Zayo Europe, what we can do to work with all stakeholders, whether it's governments, please help us go faster. Please, make it easier, because these are bottlenecks. And then with partners, whether that's operators or other enterprises, and we work very closely with hyperscalers and large enterprise, because again, to provide that core basic layer of fiber that is essential for the AI growth, it's going to, you need to work very closely, be hand in glove with these guys as we evolve the model. So that is, I think, going to drive different operating models, different business models of how we need to get things done, and that will be innovative. Particularly, as I said, how you have to deploy capital, get return on capital to make it work.
Absolutely. Kind of shifting gears a little bit, still on that theme of innovation, but looking ahead when it comes to convergence, right? Convergence can mean a lot of different things to different people. If you ask me, for me, it's about convergence of data centers, subsea, terrestrial fiber, internet exchange points, how the entire ecosystem of digital infrastructure comes together. Every aspect has its own importance, obviously, right? And when you look at that convergence, right, across networks, across data centers, cloud, how do you see that convergence shaping the next phase of global connectivity and digital growth?
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier, NVIDIA becoming a significant stakeholder in Nokia. That shows you the interdependence and that now the whole value chain has on each other. It's quite, it's very, very deep. I think a challenge we have is supply chain and how we can, develop, bring new goods and services to market when there is such a demand on these things that waiting times are getting longer and longer. So the convergence of working closely with partners, with companies, the hyperscalers, to make that happen as they're driving the investment, the new investment, is really, really, it's going to be really, really important. It will be a sort of a shift. There's such an independence that everything has to shift along together for it to work. If something falls out of place or something is not right, it will fall over. So I think, and this is why you probably see moves by companies like NVIDIA into Nokia or into other parts of their ecosystem to keep that thing moving together, because it's such an important thing. It's moving so fast. You can't have vulnerabilities or slow down anything that creates a bottleneck in your system. So that's where that's only going to grow, I think, because as I said, back to where we were talking, the level of investment is unprecedented. The speed at which it's moving is unprecedented. The scale is unprecedented. So I'm still sticking to once in a generation, because human beings are quite innovative. We'll find something else in 25 years, but this is really moving now. So that does need a closeness, a proximity to make it all work.
Yeah, but do you think on that regard that there's enough being done by the industry today in terms of moving, as you very rightly said, in terms of moving it all together, right? When it comes to true convergence and truly harnessing the benefit of that, right? Or is there more that needs to be done? And if so, what is that more like? How would you define that?
Well, Zaid, he had a slide where are the bottlenecks. I mean, power. Is there enough being done to develop, power? I'm not an expert on that. On fiber, which would be our core, I think we have much, much more to do. I mean, the economics of fiber, particularly in long haul, can be quite tough. So how do we make operating models to make that easier? Partnerships, working with people. We're a metro fiber player. I would say we have, we have constantly been reevaluating our model to make it work. So, as I said, it takes forever sometimes to get permits to roll things out, even though everybody wants to be part of the AI chain. So working with governments around regulations, critical national infrastructure, making things easier. I mean, and stamping out vulnerabilities. I mean, there is, as this convergence moves, Vinay, the risk, also grows because the level of interdependence. It only takes one thing to go wrong, and then
there is sort of a bit of a ripple
you will have a
there.
domino effect. Yeah, for sure. So I think we have to really think this through how we're going to evolve, develop networks. The level I see even at the physical network level, the level of resilience, diversity now that's been put into networks is again the need for more and more infrastructure to support this is just sort of off the clock.
Absolutely. The way I look at digital infrastructure and the digital transformation, right, across businesses, across human lives, and local economies as well, right? Because economies are impacted, local jurisdictions, when you look at infrastructure coming in place. How do you see that digital infrastructure industry shaping global economies and competitiveness over the next few years?
Yeah. Well, I think what we're creating is going to, shift economies in terms of GDP development of when we start these applications are used more and more and more, it is going to replug our economies. Everything. There's no such thing in my view as bad infrastructure. You can build it too early, but over time it will get used. We were talking last night about infrastructure that was built 25 years ago is now becoming critical because the routes are proliferating. It's really, really important not to waste resources. So that's where, overbuilding unnecessarily or creating oversupply, that's really been the most damaging thing in the infrastructure telco sector in the last 20 years. So I think we need to be smarter how we deploy because there is so much demand, planning things better, working, without in partnership, without creating any sort of competition issues or anything like that, but really being smarter in how we deploy because the capital is constrained. To get it all done, we need to work a lot more, and that will drive, that will underpin what we're doing. Will underpin the demand of AI for the next foreseeable future, and that is very, very exciting place to be around. So
great, well, fantastic. Really enjoyed chatting with you. I'm still going to stick to once in a lifetime about AI.
Okay,
but we'll see. We'll check. But thank you so much.
You have a very long lifetime, Vinay. So.
Well, let's give everyone a big round of applause for Coleman for sharing his insight. Thank you so much.